This is my 97 Suzuki VS800 Intruder. Today I'm going to be removing the carburetors and putting rebuild kits in them. This guy is actually a pretty cold-blooded. It doesn't like to start when it's cold out. It does go eventually, but I think I've got some sticking needles in the carburetors or something like that. It'll go after time, after you kind of coax it a little bit. And it's got a choke, but I don't know if it works. It doesn't really seem to make a difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the carburetors, put the rebuild kits in them, install them back in, and see if it helps my situation. Shut the fuel off, and then pull this hose off, and then it looks like I got one bolt here. That wasn't so bad. Take off this intake boot here. All right. And then here's the lower boot here. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a screw in here. Come on. Okay. It's like the choke is kind of stopping it from coming all the way out. Looks like I'm gonna need a small wrench to break that free and then pull it out of the linkage there. I'm thinking the upper carburetor here has more linkages going to it than this lower carburetor does. I might leave this stuff attached and then disconnect everything from the lower carburetor and remove this as an assembly with most everything attached to it. I took the choke off here that was mounted on the frame and pulled it through. That just had a screw sitting on the frame there. That way that all can come with it. And I'll remove the fuel line and then the single throttle cable and choke assembly on this one in order to take it to the workbench afterwards. Unscrew that. Alright, so I'm going to pull the throttle linkage off here, twist the throttle, and then I can jam something in here like a wrench, keep it up like that. That'll give me slack in the cable, and then I can pull the slack all the way around to that little slot right there, and then pull that out, just like that. And that loosens that nut inside of here. It might be easier to show you guys once I got it out. And then back that nut off a little quarter turn at a time until you have enough slack to pull the whole thing out of there. I found out that the bottom of the carburetor, or the bowl here, is hitting the air cleaner. So a screw here, and then a screw here that goes against the frame and that hole. Then you gotta pull off the fuse panel, which is 2 Phillips screws, one there, that goes on the air cleaner there. and then we can slide the air cleaner out of the way. There are hoses on the bottom of the air cleaner, like drain holes. I left those attached because all I needed to do is push this out of the way. But now I can get this further out and work on detaching some more of these components to get this out of here all the way. That will make it much easier. So it looks like I got a fuel line at the bottom of the carburetor here. I can just take that off with a pair of pliers, and then I could probably kind of swing this up and take off the rest of the linkage. There we go. To get this way easier. And then there we go. That's out. And this cable here comes out like that. Come on. There. And now we just have this hose here. Little spring clip. Pull that up. There. And then twist it with a pair of pliers to break it free. Hopefully. This probably hasn't been off in ages. Oh, I just ripped a hole in it. Perfect. I'll have to cut that back. Come on. Come on. Up. Oh, yep. Well, there goes that. I'm just going to have to cut it off now. Golly. Oh, and then there's this guy. That's going up there. That's part of the choke, it looks like. So does that come off with this? There we go. Yep. There. Piece of cake. Now for this side, the only thing I should have to do is take this auto linkage off on this. That's threaded in there, so it looks like I'll have to also pull it off here. Come on. There we go. Okay. Boom. We're going to call this one carburetor number 1. We're going to call this one carburetor number 2. So there are some variances. So I'm going to set that one to the side for now. This one that has the fewer things attached to it, I'm going to focus on rebuilding first. So let's see what's in our kit here. Looks like we got square cut O-ring. That's probably going to be for the bowl there. Gasket is going to be for something similar to that. Then you get a couple diaphragms in here. You've got some looks like some needles. This is going to be for your needle for your float. Seen that before. Some springs, some filter screens, some O-rings, washers, so all kinds of little goodies that we will use to replace. So this is going to be a little bit more complicated, a little more challenging. So first thing I want to do is I'm probably going to spray this down with my brake cleaner here, get it cleaned up, and then we'll take the bowl off first, where the float and those needles are going to sit. We'll get that all taken care of off the side. I kind of want to break it all down component by component, then blow all the passages out, and then start reassembly. Okay, so what I want to do, let's move my little tiny pieces away that I'm going to use later. My screwdriver back. Yeah, a little cruddy in there, not too bad. So that's that gasket we saw there. We're gonna end up replacing that. Boy, that's crusty and seized on there, so that's gonna take some time. Let's put these back in here so I know where they go. Alright, here's the float. In order to take this guy off, it looks like we're gonna have to punch this rod through this way. There we go. There is float and the needle. And then, so that all goes with that. Now inside here, looks like we've got another screw, a retainer screw here. There we go, and that's probably one of our O-rings that we got to replace, so let's not lose that. And then this guy comes off here. Put that off to the side. I think that's everything here. So we also want to take this off. It's probably going to be one of those rubber diaphragms on this side. Ooh, hopefully, it's on there. All but one of the screws on here pretty well seized, so I got it soaking in some penetrant. I'm going to move on to the bigger side here. Spring. This is a big boy diaphragm. I don't think my kit came with this one. Hopefully I don't need to replace it, because that would suck. And it looks like it's in good shape, so that's good. So I'm gonna set that gently off to the side here. All right, got it almost completely disassembled. Looks like. There we go. Two of them. go. Just a little impact, that's all it took, I guess. That screw's got to go. Alright, we have that spring. And we have this diaphragm. Sweet. Here. Oh, jet. I keep calling these needles, I'm sorry, the jets. They're little orifices. Cap. Oh, there's a spring that goes in here. There. Jesus. Okay. That spring goes on there. And that goes on there. Now I did find some screws I think will work. Oh, they're gone. Okay. Is it? Well, unfortunately, it appears that I got the wrong kit. Now, the gasket for the bowl looks like it's going to work, and the float needle looks like it's going to work fine. So that's good. Those are kind of the important things right now. All the jets that I've been pulling out of here, I'm just going through and making sure I can see daylight through the center of each one of these, blow them out, and then just reuse them back in the same plot. Excuse me, then back into the same positions, and those should be fine. I'd like to use all new stuff, but all the important stuff's taken care of, so I'm gonna leave it with that. So this guy goes back. So there was one in here I pulled out. I didn't show you, but that's a pretty wide orifice on that jet. And then the other one I got to put back on is this little tiny guy that came out of here. And then this guy that came out of, was it here? I think it came out of there. Not this guy. And then the washer, which didn't even come with that. It's unfortunate. And then this jet here. So all the jets are back in it. Knife here, got a razor blade on it, and just kind of scrape it all off the edges. And then some flat sandpaper, and just lightly get the last of it off. And I'll clean the inside of that too. Gasket. That goes there. Now the needle. Let's see if I get this orientation right. Float needle assembly in here like so. I feel like I'm missing something. Oh yeah, that guy. But they did give me one of these, and there's a filter screen for it. So that's gonna go on here like that. The needle goes inside of here, and honestly that could have been a problem the whole time. Is this is not, well, that seems to slide pretty good actually. But if the old one ever got stuck inside here, it didn't allow fuel to fill the bowl, and it was kind of doing half, and maybe that rubber wore out down there, didn't seal correctly, those cause a lot of problems. So getting all new is definitely a benefit. New O-ring. Alright, slide that down in there. Like so. Now we can put that down in there like that, and then the crossbar to hold it in place. And then bowl. Right? Yep. Bowl vent tube. And then put the screws back in. Last parts of this whole thing is putting this back down here. So as you set this down, you need to put it in the slot that goes into the bowl. So you kind of have to guide this thing down. There we go, to get it down to sit properly. And then make sure this diaphragm seal, it sits properly also. So if you, it is directional, it looks like. So you've got this little tiny eyelet hole right there in the end, and then you've got a little spot for it to sit there. So that way the orientation is correct, it looks like. And then just kind of run your fingers around to seat the boot or the diaphragm. Once that's seated, spring goes back in, and then you can put this guy back on. That, and then trying to remember how everything goes. If you had brackets and whatnot, I just like to use the witness marks on here, so you can see that that's got that big witness mark compared to these. That means this bracket went on there. Is this retaining screw? So I pull the bowl back off. This retaining screw holds down this guy here. That showed you with the filter on the end of it, and that goes right next to the floats right here. So that's kind of crucial. I'm glad I remembered it, because if that slides out, I can cause all kinds of fuel related issues. So there, don't forget that. It's done. And since these are essentially identical and all of the components and pieces are the same, with the exception of what looks like the O-ring for the bowl here on this end, I don't really need to really show this one because all the pieces are the same. So I'm going to duplicate what I did to that on this one, and we'll go and put them back in the motorcycle. One thing I forgot to show before reassembly was the idle mixture screws. So you got one in each carburetor. One goes in that hole there on that carburetor. This one here, that hole. You pull it out, it looks like this. It's got a spring, and then if you look, there's a O-ring and a washer on the end of that. It comes in the kit. I've already reassembled a new one to go in this carburetor, and I'll duplicate the process on that. And unless you get them exactly the way they were when you pulled them off, there's probably going to be some adjustments to be made once you put them back in the bike. I think I need to put throttle on first. There, that's in the, I think, the exact same spot as it was. I'll go ahead and put the cable back on here. There we go. And then that's on, the choke is on, the tube comes off. All right, I think I'm ready to shove that down in here now. Oop. Don't break stuff, please. Did I break it? No? Okay. Get the choke down in there first. Maybe. Hopefully. That's how I pulled it up. There we go. Like that. Gotta twist it down and then it. Alright. And then past the frame, I can push it onto the intake pipe here. There it goes. Choke cable goes here. I should be able to. Oh, I can't forget, I need to cut that piece off and reattach it down too. Alright, carburetor number 2. That's gonna go straight in there like that. But first, I want to get the choke in. So that guy goes on here. Then the spring. And then this guy. And then that goes in the bore. Like that. And just crank it down. Alright. And then my throttle linkage to here. And this guy goes in here like so. Like that. And I tighten this guy down. All right. Oh, you know what? I'm a dummy. I was supposed to put these on after they went through here, I believe. I don't think I can go over the frame and do it, can I? I have to go under this frame. Like an idiot. Okay, let's try this again. So I'm fighting the choke a little bit. So I unscrewed it from where I had it mounted here to give myself enough slack to get it underneath the frame here and onto the carburetor. So that's how you're gonna have to do that. Bit of a fight, but I got the fuel line on the bottom here. I got the throttle cable in and tightened up. Can I get the cable in first? that. Then pull this guy up into the slot here, like this. This might work better. Come on, there we go. So, all that fighting, this guy here, you have to pull it out of this slot, put the cable on, and then stretch it in over and put it in there. And that's what ended up working for me. You won't see all the fight that I did, because I will edit that out, but it was a pain in the butt. This broken line to a fresh line, and stick that on this side here, like so. And even this is probably gonna fight me. Come on. There we go. That wasn't so bad. There. Okay. We're getting close. Come on, you pain in the butt. Get in there. Sure will make this easy. There we go. Alright. Hose clamp, hose clamp. Hose clamp. Tighten. Done. Pretty sure I got everything connected up. Got the intake pipe. This actually was a big pain in the butt. I ended up taking the screw all the way out of the clamp and then kind of working the pipe in there, putting the clamp back on, and then putting the screw in there. Here, the one I was missing the clamp, I just put a big zip tie around it. It should be fine for now. I don't have the actual correct clamp for that. Maybe I'll order it and put the right one on later. So the only thing left now is to put the fuel tank on. Oh, I can put the fuse block on. That's important. And then try to see if it'll fire. There we go. Key on. Clutch. Sweet. That's gonna do it, man. That wasn't too bad. Sounds really good. So if you guys like what I do on this channel, maybe consider subscribing, and every once in a while, I don't know, you hit that like button too. We'll see you guys in the next one.